In this lesson, we'll start looking for the shape of our face. So if you want to follow along, make sure to open up Lesson 04 Start. And this is just a very basic Dynamesh bust that I made a few years ago. I use it to make most of my head sculptures or any kind of bust of a creature or whatever it is that I'm going to be doing. It's a really good solution. Now, to look for the shape, we need to find the right images to help us out. So we're only going to use the front and a side image here today, but since we'll be using the profile image very soon to sort of adjust our head and its positions, we should probably already have it down here just so we can add it to our spotlight. So I'm going to grab that front with the green shirt, the profile, and the side view, and then here we go. So first things first, let's size it up just a little bit here. And ideally, you want to keep it within those white borders just because you won't have any problems with the camera starting to overwrite your sculpting. So as long as you don't go over that little white line, which is your sort of safe camera area, you'll be fine. Taking down the opacity a little bit, and now I'm just going to sort of position this head here, and I'm going to begin using the Move tool to adjust it. So I'm going to turn off Align Cursor to Surface. You can find that on the Preferences Edit menu. And as you can see, very basic here. Just going to move up the top of the skull here so he has a bigger head, as well as just pushing in the jaw and the cheekbones. Now, one of the things that I want to show you guys is the face is never symmetrical. So what happens when we sort of paint this face onto our model? So we have the spotlight image here. It's pretty basic. We'll just turn RGB on, turn Z-Add off, and let's just paint it, just so you can see. And I'll turn it off really quick here, but you'll see that it looks very strange. So there you go. Looks nothing like him, right? Well, that's the thing. If we paint it without symmetry, that's where his face is supposed to fit inside our model. And that's the tricky bit. So faces are not symmetrical. And in order for us to achieve this likeness sculpt, we're going to take it step by step. So we're going to keep symmetry. Okay, we're going to be working with symmetry for a long time. So what you want to do is just pace yourself and realize that at the start, it's not going to look very much like the person that you're trying to do. However, this is a digital medium. We're not doing it in clay. So we will use the technology that we have to make us sculpt faster. So we'll break symmetry later on, but just be aware that at the start, it's not going to look very good. It's not going to look very close to, the person that you chose, but that's part of the plan. Okay, so anyway, I'm just digging in a little bit here of the face, just with the standard brush, nothing fancy, just so that I can sort of have a guideline to use my side image on. Now, a word of warning, again, the side image here was taken in a different day. His head is a little bit tilted down. We have to use all of these images sort of with a grain of salt, as well as establishing that one of our images is going to be our definite reference. So I'm going to use the Move tool here and just start pushing things on and off, but I wanted to talk to you about using a definite image. What does that mean? It just means that one of the reference images that you picked is the one that you are always going to go back to in order to say, okay, is this chin this size, this position, this way? Is the eye this tall, this big, this long, etc.? There has to be sort of a center, there has to be a headquarters for you. You need a solid point, a good image that you say, this is the image. And that image is the one you'll go back to all the time when something starts looking a little bit off. And it's just your safe haven, it's your port, it's your anchor. It's got to be there. So as you can see, all I'm doing here is just using the Move tool and adjusting it to the side view. But what's going to happen when we turn this image off here is that from the front, it's going to look really bad. That's because due to the fact that his head is a little bit tilted down, and this image here isn't a perfect side view, even though it looks like it is, it only sort of gives us a guideline. So it kind of gives us a tip, it kind of points us in the right direction, but we still have to do all of the hard work. And now I want to show you a cool trick of making the ears. So the good thing about having a side image like this is you can easily see the size and position of the ears, right? Well, let's look at this from the front here. And what I want you guys to do is to draw out a transpose line horizontally. So let's go ahead and do that. So draw that horizontally. And then what you want to do is draw it vertically, use rotate and rotate it inwards, move it inwards. And that is a really cool and easy way, you know, a really good trick of getting ears on your model very, very quickly. Okay, so what we want to do is sort of smooth out this transition of the ears. And like I said, I think the most important part about this tutorial is, well, you've obviously seen the final result, you know, in the start of the course with the final render that is available. But to look at it this way and say, wow, this is going to be that render at some point, it's kind of a little bit of mind-boggling, right? And I still think it's very important for us as instructors to show you guys that it doesn't always start out pretty, you know? So I smoothed out that forehead using the Trim Dynamic brush, by the way. Just very, very simple stuff that I'm doing, nothing fancy. And again, look, this here is my anchor, my safe haven, you know? I like this image. This image is the one that I'm going to be using for most of my adjustments. So here I can move the eyes up, I can sort of shrink in the nose, all of it in the move tool, no real finesse needed. You can just sort of adjust it and say, okay, look, this is where his face is, this is where his features are, this is how tall his ears are, his right, his left, and this is where his lip is separated. Bam, you know, nothing to it. This is our rule, our guideline, this is our base, you know. We can just always go back to this and say, yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like. And then we'll adjust everything else accordingly. But, you know, as a starting point, this is not bad. Now, what we want to do after this is actually add just a whole bunch of features to his face. Not necessarily his features, but we want to add eyes, we want to add lips, we want to add a little bit more of a complex nose there. Not necessarily his, but we need some of those structures built so that we can refine them later on. In any case, let's go ahead and stop it here, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson where we'll add some of those features to his face.